Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GraceKennedy's Investors Briefing. I am Don Webby, Group Chief Executive Officer. With me to my left is Andrew Masado, Group Chief Financial Officer. We welcome all participants who have joined us for this webinar. The briefing has been scheduled to run for approximately 40 minutes. We will use up approximately 30 minutes of this time for presentations and the remaining time to accommodate questions. During the question and answer session, you are welcome to share your questions by emailing us at gkinvestor@gkco.com. Let me repeat, gkinvestor@gkco.com. You may also call or send a text message to our communications team at 876-809-1121 or 876-809-0464. Let me just repeat those numbers again. You may also call or send a text to our communications team at 876-809-1121 or 876-809-0464. So good afternoon again, everyone. I will now do a brief presentation followed by Andrew Masado, and then we'll open the floor for questions. So I'm sure everybody is familiar with my first slide, welcoming you to the investors briefing with that screen of everyone having a virtual meeting, and I'm sure we have all had many virtual meetings over the last 2 years. So during the pandemic, colleagues, our GraceKennedy team, we met and we wanted to come up with a motto for the year given the devastation of the high level of COVID-19. And this has been our rally call for the last, I would say, 18 months. And I believe it's such a profound and important statement. It simply says, we are stronger together, we care. We are stronger together, we care. So, in terms of GK response, I gave an update to our shareholders at our AGM meeting, but I'd like to give you an update of where we are. So we continue to have a work from home policy. Obviously, some of our staff cannot work from home, primarily in our retail section and our manufacturing plants. But as we speak, 60% of our staff are working from home. And we continue to encourage you to work from home if you are not fully vaccinated. One of the areas that we've been really working hard at, colleagues, is to ensure that our staff, and by extension our community and Jamaica, get vaccinated. So we held our first vaccination session on September 7th, and that was a success, and we held the second one on November 2nd. Both, as I said, were very successful, with over 750 staff members, contractors, and persons from the surrounding communities receiving vaccinations. One of the things I was really pleased about, a lady actually on the last vaccination session, a lady from the community came to me and said, Mr. Webby, I'd love to get vaccinated. And we arranged for her to get vaccinated. And I must confess to you, that's the first time somebody really asked me that they wanted to get vaccinated. But it was such a warm feeling that we could assist somebody in the community to get vaccinated. Again, let me call on all Jamaicans to get vaccinated. That's the only way I believe that we're going to return to some amount of normalcy. Our supply chain remains robust and consistent and a key priority area. As you know, the world has been challenged by supply chain issues, logistical issues, shortages of very important materials. In fact, Zach Mars, our head of procurement, signaled to me last week that there could be a shortage of glass bottles. But we are on top of it. We're working very hard to ensure all our markets, the USA, the UK, Canada, the Caribbean, and of course Jamaica, remain in supply of all of GraceKennedy's items. And as I said before, That is a key area for us. Obviously, in any pandemic, you have to manage your cash flow. Your liquidity is being managed very carefully. Margin management in terms of our products, not only our products, but even the bank. We have to be looking at managing our margins a lot more efficiently with interest rates seemingly on the rise. Cost containment and cost reduction will be key as we move forward. And of course, and I'll share some of the opportunities that we have had, we have identified opportunities in this crisis. And as I say to my team and the shareholders and to the public at large, when there's a crisis, there's an opportunity. And in our DNA at GraceKennedy, we give back to our communities, and I'm going to share a slide or two in terms of giving back to our communities. I want to say this again because it's something I feel strongly about, colleagues and all of you on the call. And I've said it to my staff in many meetings, many emails, many phone calls and videos, that as the CEO of GraceKennedy, I'm willing to do everything in my power to ensure that any GK team member who wants to get vaccinated against COVID-19 can do so. I believe very strongly that it is my responsibility as a leader of this great company and as a CEO to ensure the safety of our team. But colleagues, I cannot do it alone. It is the responsibility of every leader to ensure that their staff can work in a safe environment. And the truth is, everyone has their part to play. We are stronger together. We must do everything we can do to stop COVID-19 and get back to some level of normalcy as soon as possible. Let us look at the financial performance of the GraceKennedy Group, which is something that we are very proud of, coming off of a very strong 2020. If you look at the last 3 years, the year-to-date revenue compared to the previous year and the year before, our revenue is up 11.2%. Let me see if this BOSA thing can work, Andrew. 11.2% or 9.7 billion. In an economic environment like ours, with an 11.2% increase year over year, or 9.7 billion Jamaican dollars, that is something that we are extremely pleased of. And I want to use this opportunity to thank the GraceKennedy team and the board of directors in terms of their hard work, their focus, their dedication, their loyalty in a very challenging environment to produce these revenue results. To continue, this translated to profits for the group, before tax profits of 16.9%, or 1.2 billion. So what we are saying, colleagues, is that the good performance in revenue, we managed our expenses well, we managed our margins well, and of course we introduced new innovative ways of doing business, which I'll share with you. And that translated to a profit before tax of $8.5 billion, or an increase of $1.2 billion. A performance, again, that we are very proud of. In terms of our profit after tax, that went up 26.3%, or $1.3 billion. So you'll see from the graph there, 2019 we were at 3.7, 4.9, and then 6.2 billion. So you'd say that the curve in terms of our increase in profitability has been sustainable and consistent over the last 3 years. In terms of our stock performance, again, you would see a significant improvement in our stock price. We went up 58.4%, and the market went up 1.7%. So if you look at the curve, you'd see the steep curve here. November 2nd, we traded at 99.28. So the stock, colleagues, is traded anywhere between $98 and $102. And as we speak, we have an increase of 58.4%, which is extremely good. Again, we want to thank the market for seeing the value of the GraceKennedy stock, and I look on this as a reward or a recognition of our good performance. So thank you, everyone. Let me now use the opportunity to highlight some highlights of our business performance. As you recall, we bought 876 spring water on April 23rd. It is doing well. The demand is very high. Our distribution is good. We had a little bit of hiccup with the supply issues, but we are now over that, and I expect the 876 spring water brand to continue to do well. And our Catherine Speak, which you'll see here, is doing exceptionally well as our spring water brand. Scotia Insurance Caribbean Limited, this is an acquisition that we are extremely pleased of. We renamed the company GK Life Insurance Eastern Caribbean Limited. We refer to it here as GK Life. We had our first board meeting last week, November 18th. It went exceptionally well. We have a really good management team in St. Lucia, and we expect good growth from this company. And in fact, I asked the management and the rest of the board to look out for some additional opportunities in terms of acquisition of life insurance companies in the Caribbean. So big things are expected from GK Life, and I'm extremely pleased how the board meeting went, and the management is a very strong management team. GK Weather, you know, colleagues, we say in Jamaica at GraceKennedy, what is good for Jamaica is good for GraceKennedy. And this is one of the products that I feel that it's extremely important. You have heard me say it before, that I believe if we're going to have sustainable growth in Jamaica, it's going to come from our agricultural sector, and it's going to come from agro-processing, something that I feel very strongly about. And that is how we're going to reduce our high import bill for food products, which is, I think, averaging about $1 billion US now. And I believe that we should set ourselves a target to reduce that by 2030 to 500 million, or cut it in half. And we can do it if we grow our agricultural sector. But we know our farmers have a difficult time with weather. And what we did at GraceKennedy, in conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture, we created a product, we designed a product that offers protection for wind, rain, and drought for Jamaican farmers and fishers. I would encourage the farmers and the fishers to take advantage of this product, this GK Weather product, because you never know when you're going to need it until you really need it, if we have some terrible weather. So we're very pleased with this product here, and I want to use this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Agriculture, working with us very closely to get this product off the ground. First Global Agency Banking, this is a part of our financial inclusion strategy. We expanded our network to 14 with 3 new MoneyLink locations in rural Jamaica: Highgate, St. Mary, Albert Town, Trelawney, and White House, Westmoreland. So we're up to 14, and we have set ourselves a target to be at least 20 in the near term. So we're going to be focusing on financial inclusion as a bank and as a company, and we believe that this provides a great opportunity for the Jamaicans that are underserved in the banking system to come on board with First Global Bank Agency Banking as we move forward. In terms of our money services, our Western Union partnership, as you know, this is the single largest profit contributor to the GraceKennedy profits. Our remittance business showed increases in revenue and profit year over year in the main markets: Jamaica, Guyana, Trinidad, and Tobago. What is happening in this industry, and is something that we have to pay careful attention to, is that the digital transactions are growing at between 35 to 40%, while the traditional retail to retail is basically not growing. And as you see there, we've been performing exceptionally well in digital transactions. We exceeded our previous year by 117%. And I can tell you, because of COVID-19, our previous year was significantly above 2019. So 2020 was significantly above 2019. So obviously this is an area that we're going to be investing in very heavily. Our insurance section continued to perform well. We're very, very pleased with Key Insurance. We have basically turned that around. I believe it's on a sustainable basis, and that company will continue to show profits. Recall, colleagues, that when we bought the company in March of 2020, the company was showing losses. And now when you see our third quarter results that we reported to our shareholders of Key and the stock exchange, it's still showing a profits. And I believe that that profitability will continue. GKGI, our other insurance company, is doing well year over year, both in revenue and profits. Our banking is doing well. As you can see, we recorded increases in revenue over 2020, and that is attributable significantly to our payment business and its online banking. Of course, with the online banking comes investment, and you'd notice that the bank's profit is actually marginally down because we are depreciating the digital capital expenditure for global access and other digital initiatives. But the payback is going to be significant in the future. I may also say to the investors and people on the call that we have been very prudent at FGB in terms of our loan provisioning, given the uncertainty in our economy and the world by and large with COVID-19. But we are very pleased with the performance of all our segments in our financial services division. One company I should mention here, Andrew, is Cigna in Barbados. They have suffered because of the lockdowns in Barbados. Having said that, with Barbados opening up now, we have already seen an increase in economic activity, and we expect to finish the year with Cigna in a very strong position, not as much profitability as 2020. However, we expect 2022 to be significantly better than 2021 for Cigna. In terms of our domestic food, GFS, as you know, is our distributor of the Grace brand, or the core business of Grace Foods business. And we have been having an exceptional year. I'm so pleased with Frank and Tamara, Magian, and the whole team. And I want to use the opportunity also to thank the consumers and the customers of GFS. The Grace brand has really, really performed well. Our corned beef, our mackerel, our tropical rhythms, and there are a lot more that are performing well. And thank the Jamaicans consumers for supporting Grace in these times. We launched a number of new products under our development and innovation system: mixed berries, the dried yellow split peas, dried seasoning, and another one which I'm very proud of here, and I hope the camera will pick it up, doing very well, Grace Mighty Malt, doing exceptionally well, and is a great malt. Grace Mighty Malt Premium, the classic energy malt drink, non-alcoholic, fantastic product, and it is doing very, very well. And I would encourage everybody on the call to try our Grace Mighty Malt. In fact, it is doing exceptionally well in the UK market, which, as you know, is a malt market. But I'm very pleased with the performance of this product here. So as we move on, international foods, innovation is there. But let me say that there's a company in the international foods division. We refer to it lovingly as LLC, or Grace USA. That company is surpassing every expectation, and believe me, I have high expectations for all of my companies, or all the companies in the GraceKennedy Group, and that one is surpassing all the expectations. We are growing in all our major supermarkets: Walmart, Publix, ShopRite, you name it, we are growing. And we saw this trend from last year with COVID-19. And what this is saying to us is that there's a sustainability of our growth in the US market. We're primarily diaspora, but it has crossed over, especially our parties. They basically started to cook at home under the COVID-19 pandemic. And what we are seeing is that they have continued to cook at home. And that is showing a huge increase in our Grace brand and our other brands in the USA market. The profits there has increased again significantly with good generation of cash. Canada is also doing exceptionally well. The UK, our nourishment brand, has turned around and showing real growth. So I'm so excited about our international food business. That market is so big, and the growth of that business is going to be significant in the future. We have also been looking at innovations. If you can see on the screen, it's probably going to be a little bit blurred, but our Irie Eats in the UK market is, and I love that name, Irie Eats, is going to be a winner for us. We're looking forward to a strong performance. So to just capture in terms of innovation, we launched 9 new products across the US, UK, Canada, Latin America, and the Caribbean markets. Belize, we're doing fantastic, and the rest of the Caribbean, we're also doing very well. Majesty, some of you may recall that's our investment in our patty business in the US, Hialeah, Florida, with our colleagues, Colin Chang and Gary Taishu. We have totally renovated that plant because our demand for patties, not only the Grace patties we produce other brands, was far outweighing the demand. The demand was far outweighing the supply. So we have refurbished it to double the capacity in the first instance, and we may have to triple it in the second round because of the huge demand for the Grace patties primarily and other brands that we produce. So again, Majesty has been a great investment for the GraceKennedy Group for our patty business in the USA market. You'll remember at the digital transformation, GK1 was a huge discussion for us as a strategy and digital transformation. But I'd like to update you on that. We have made good progress. Our digital factory started in February 2021 and developed a number of mobile apps for GK1. So we have developed 3 products which are going to be launching very shortly. A digital wallet with a prepaid Visa-backed FGB card, a digital remittance product. Remember our earlier discussion about the growth in digital. So we are ahead of the curve in terms of digital remittance product and digital bill payments. I was used as one of the early users of these products, and they are first class, best in class. And I want to use the opportunity to congratulate Stephen and Alison and the digital team who have done a fantastic job in getting us so far so quickly with intense focus on launching these products. The digital transformation roadmap is in place for 2022, and both our foods and financial services business is doing exceptionally well in terms of 2022. You would have seen our press release about Hilo. And let me recognize Gail Solomon and Simon Roberts and Catherine Kennedy and the team for getting this product out. Hilo Food Stores, we launched our new online grocery shopping platform, Hilo Online. To access it on the web, www.hilofoodsstoreja.com. Let me repeat it again. No, let me show you the bossy thing here then. See it here? www.hilofoodsstoreja.com. Please try it out. Really, really good. And we also have the mobile through Google Play and the iOS App Store. So we are moving very well in terms of our food business and e-commerce. So shoppers can purchase groceries wherever they are in the world and pay online using a debit or credit card. Groceries can be collected in the store, curbside, or have it delivered to their doorstep in Jamaica from select Hilo locations. So think about this, colleagues. You have a relative in New York or Canada or the UK or Florida, and they want to send you some groceries. They go online to Hilo Food Stores. They order it, debit or credit card, they can pay with it from wherever they are in the world, and they can give instructions to deliver it to their family, friends, or loved one home. I think that's just remarkable, and potentially could be a game changer for this industry. And it has already been, we are seeing it in our US business, where our e-commerce business through Instacart is growing by 85% over 2020, and 2020 over 2019 was extremely high. So the trajectory of growth in this business is significant in terms of what we are seeing. And we're going to be investing heavily behind it. Our business in Canada for Walmart grew by over 100% over 2020. So we see e-commerce in the food retail business as a great opportunity for our diaspora, our colleagues in Jamaica, and for our US business. It is a huge part of our growth strategy. And the truth is that's the new world. You know, we speak about COVID-19 and it has changed the world. Well, some of what it has changed the world too will never go back to pre-COVID-19, one of which is the e-commerce platforms and the digital transformation of our respective business. Next year is a big year for us. We'll celebrate our 100th anniversary in 2022, February 14, 2022. And I'm sure you have heard me say before, we care. Valentine's Day, we bring a lot of love. We have an exciting year-long calendar of activities to celebrate this significant milestone. I take pride, friends, colleagues, to speak about GraceKennedy and We Care. This is something that I'm extremely passionate about. And the truth is, even pre-COVID, this was in the DNA of GraceKennedy in terms of We Care and giving back to our community. And they refer to as corporate social responsibility. We were doing this long before it was fancy terms. In fact, we are working on an economic, environment, social governance policy, ESG, and all of you need to watch the space for that because it's going to become extremely important for any corporate entity anywhere in the world, ESG. Okay, so just to highlight a few, 92 Jamaicans students received tertiary scholarships totaling $24 million. We donated laptops at 3.7 million awardees of GK scholarships. We're doing internship. This is an interesting story, and let me spend a minute on it. So when we started to build out the digital factory in February of this year, we recognized one thing, that the talent or the skill set was not there for programming and for app development in Jamaica. So we had to go to overseas quite a bit to recruit, to develop the various apps and that kind of thing. I would say, you know something, we shouldn't be doing that. We have so much bright youngsters in Jamaica that we want to engage the youngsters and give them that skill set to do app programming and software development. So we're actually doing an internship program, and we're going to be working with the universities. At University of West Indies is the first one. We're going to form a digital institute where I think we have 4 interns working now, and we're going to increase that to 10 next year, where we're going to be supporting them through our digital institute at their university, so they can have that skill set of app development and software development, and they're going to be guaranteed a job, an internship program with GraceKennedy. So we have 4 now, and we're going to be doing 10 after. And I'm really happy about that internship program. It's going to be a win for GraceKennedy. It's going to be a win for Jamaica. It's going to be a win for the University of West Indies. And it's going to be a win for that individual who goes through that program. Then, in terms of the Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation, this is another story. So in 2016, we sent 350 students to high school and to university. And I said, if we're going to really make an impact on Jamaica, we have to increase that amount significantly. Because let me tell you something. we can speak about the economy, we can speak about number of metrics and foreign exchange and that sort of a thing. But the solution to Jamaica's problem is that of education. We need to ensure that education is priority one. And as I said before, education shouldn't be a privilege, it should be a right for every Jamaican. So, and just this story I gave you about Digital Institute. Well, that 350, what gets measured gets done. And I challenged our Grace and staff team. I said, I want this number to be 1,000 by 2022 for our 100th anniversary. Well, I got a call recently from Curtis Sweeney and said, Don, we have reached 1,000 ahead of your target. I felt so pleased. I was jumping off of my chair. So Curtis, if you are listening, we're going to set another high target for us to hit by 2025. But this is really a good feeling that I can say that GraceKennedy Limited, through our foundation, Grace and Staff Community Development Foundation, is providing tuition support for 1,008 children for high school and tertiary education. And you know, I know I'm going to be spending a little too much time. Forgive me, Andrew. I got through those results line by line for every student. Line by line for every student. And let me tell you, when you see the A's in all the sciences and the maths and the accounts, right, we have some extremely bright young people in the inner city of Jamaica. And all they want is an opportunity and the right environment, the right encouragement to do well. And we are seeing it here, where students are getting 7 A's, 8 A's, going on to university and doing exceptionally well. So we want to double that 1,000 now, Andrew, to 2,000 in the time. That's what corporate social responsibility is, prioritizing and putting your cash where your mouth is. And I believe that is the best money GraceKennedy can ever spend. Again, this digital divide is a serious issue. So we contributed over 200 devices for online learning to children who could not otherwise afford it. We also provide counseling. You know, one of the things that we pick up through Grace and staff is that COVID-19 has had a negative, a significantly negative impact on the children and the students and the community members. And we have provided counseling sessions for over 180 of these students and community members. It has been tough, I can tell you, tough for them. So in closing, and before I turn over to Andrew, let me say this is a challenging time in Jamaica, in the world, and certainly for GraceKennedy. But I want to say to all investors and everybody on the call that I'm truly honored to have led GraceKennedy through these unprecedented times. And I'm inspired by my team members. I have the greatest team in the world working with us at GraceKennedy. We have a great board, we have great consumers, we have great customers, but I have to have a special big up to my team at GraceKennedy of how we have stood tall and strong in the face of such uncertainty. I really want to thank the GraceKennedy team from the bottom of my heart for the support, love, understanding, focus, determination, and good results for our great company. So, my final slide, I'd say again, I would like to thank, or we would like to say thank you to our board of directors, employees, customers, and shareholders for their unwavering support and loyalty as we realize our mission and vision, guided always by our core principles of honesty, integrity, and trust. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I'm going to hand over the baton to Andrew Mesado, who will take us through a few slides, and then we'll open up for questions and answers.
Thank you. Thanks, Don. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'm going to give you a few highlights of our financial performance year to date up to our third quarter release of our results. So the first thing I'd like to say about our results is that in spite of a lot of challenges in the world economy now, what we're seeing is Grace Kennedy, your company, continues to perform very well. And this is in a situation where we've had several weeks of lockdowns in Jamaica and other places in the world. We've had foreign currency volatility and supply chain challenges that we've had to work very hard at ensuring that we are able to supply the products to our customers. So what we have had is positive indicators. All our indicators are showing positive results. So for revenue, we're up 11.2% since the start of this year at $95 billion. We have shown good growth in our revenue. In our food companies, that they actually account for more than half of that growth, growing by $7.2 billion for the 9-month period. For our profit before other income, this is an indicator of our operating performance, and you can see that that has grown by almost 15% to $5.88 billion, just under $800 million increase in our operating results, really showing that our core performance continues to do very well. And then for net profit after tax, we have shown growth of 26%, up to $6.2 billion for the 9-month period. What we can say, too, is that we're within striking distance of our full-year profits last year. You will recall last year the group recorded profits of $6.8 billion for the full 12 months. So we're closer to approaching that number now at the 9-month mark. What I'd also want to say is that within those results, we did have a one-off gain from a Paycheck Protection Program loan that was converted to a government grant by the U.S. government for U.S. operations. However, this did not have a significant or material impact on the overall results of the company. And then what you can see is that our asset base has also been growing, leading that 10% growth in our asset base to $190 billion. What you'll see is that our cash, our deposits, and our investments are leading in terms of that growth, where cash and deposits are up by $2.7 billion, and our investments are up by $4.7 billion. And this is really a conversion of our profits and remaining liquid. And then because of that, you can see that our equity position has also grown by 8.6% to $65 billion. And from this, we have been able to declare increased dividends for this year, and even from quarter over quarter. So we just announced that there's going to be a dividend paid on the 16th of December of 55 cents per share, and this is up from the 48 cents that we declared for the September dividend that was paid. So continue to show good growth in our dividend payout. As we talk about the dividend payout, I just want to give a little perspective on dividends. So what you'll see is that for 2021 full year, including the dividend that we just declared, we are going to be paying out $1.9 billion in dividends. You can see that that has been a steady growth, that over the past 5 years, we've consistently paid more dividends each year. Back in 2017, we were paying $1.1 billion, so over a 70% increase in dividends over the 5-year period. So as our profits continue to show improvement, shareholders can look forward to good returns. Then I want to just give you highlights on the revenue side by our various business segments. What you will see is that starting on my right-hand side, on the money services, you'll see that we had growth in money services, 11.4%, up to $7.2 billion for the 9-month period. Money services continues to do well in all our major markets, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, the Eastern Caribbean, and other parts. We showed very good growth in revenue for remittance businesses. And then for our insurance companies, you'll see that that shows a significant increase of 19.6%. And this increase, driven by our core business, GK General Insurance, just celebrated their 40th anniversary in September. They continue to show growth. Key Insurance, as was mentioned earlier, that company has turned around and is growing in terms of revenue, especially their motor portfolio. Those two are leading in terms of improved revenue. On the banking and investment side, they also showed growth. That's 6.1%. So despite a difficult situation in terms of the banking industry generally, we're showing growth in revenue, both for our local bank, First Global Bank, as well as our investment company, GK Capital Management. So we do see improved performance there. And then to top it off, I would say on the food side, you can see very good growth, 10.7% on our food trading business. For food trading, we're seeing both our domestic and our international businesses doing well. In Jamaica, it's primarily our distribution company, where our Grace brands are doing very well. Mackerel, Vienna, Tropical Rhythms, and corned beef, all strong sellers in Jamaica. And then internationally, if I was to think of UK, our Nourishment brand has shown good growth. We launched a refrigerated variant where you can get it in a chilled aisle now, and that's doing quite well. And then in the USA, our Grace brand continues to grow as well. In particular, we'd say our core products there. In addition, in Canada, we're seeing some of the key products like Ackee, coconut water, and coconut milk doing well. So all our international companies showing growth in revenue on the food side. As you can see from this slide, all four of our business segments are showing growth in revenue. Now, on the profit side, we see that overall our profits are up quite significantly. As I mentioned earlier, profits up by 16.9% on the PBT line. What you'll see here is that our money services company, they have shown some growth over the prior year. However, what we've had to do is invest quite heavily in technology. So as was mentioned by our CEO, in terms of our digital product offerings, we have been investing quite heavily in those. And so those expenses will be converted to improved revenue and performance in the future when we launch those digital products. On the insurance side, again, flowing from the revenue, we see a 13.2% growth, just under $1 billion now being returned in profits from our insurance segment. So they continue to do well. And then on the banking side, we see some decline down to $500 million. The main reasons there, one was mentioned earlier, where our operations in Barbados through Signia Globe, they suffered several months of lockdowns in the earlier part of the year, which curtailed the business. But they are showing recovery during the latter part of this year. And then First Global Bank also invested heavily in technology, including their global access platform. So some of those amortization of the software costs are flowing through the income statement. We do expect that in the coming year, we'll see good returns from those investments. On the food side, you'll see a significant growth, 50% growth. And you'll now notice that on the food side, they have certainly shown to be the leaders in terms of profit performance. Previously, you would see them almost tied with money services last year. This year, they have surpassed that mark. They now account for 50% of the profits of the overall group, doing very well, as I mentioned, both locally and overseas. So those are the highlights I'd want to give. As you can see, our group continues to do very well, performing, growing in double digits for both revenue and profits for the 9-month period. And we look forward to the 100th anniversary next year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Questions? I have a few questions here. One from Troyan Browning. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Is there an update as to the consolidation of the Nalpro and the canning factory, and how is it going so far? Thank you for that question, Troyan. It's going very well. We are on track. Everything is going very well, and we are hoping to complete by July 2022, and we are on track for that date. So thank you very much for that question, and we are on track. David Rose, GK shareholder. Hello there, David. Out of the original targets you set for M&A deal, how many were achieved this financial year, and what's the status of the remaining ones? Okay, so in terms of the M&A deals, as I said at the AGM and the previous investors briefing, we have a very healthy pipeline, both for food and financial services, inside and outside of Jamaica, and we have quite a few in the Caribbean. So we did 2 this year so far. We did the Scotia Life, which is now GK Life, and we also did 876. We are advanced in discussions with one other acquisition, and the pipeline remains very healthy, that we expect to have a few acquisitions in 2022. Obviously, you know, David, and I'm sure you'll appreciate it, that M&A deals are very sensitive, market sensitive, and you don't want to be negotiating in the public's eye. But what I can say at this time is that we have done 2, 876, and Scotia Life, and we are very close to doing another one shortly, and the pipeline remains very strong. Next question, is the GK New York NASDAQ listing on the agenda, or is it the potential spin-off GK Financial Group as a standalone group of the plan? Okay, so let me answer this question this way. We are just about completing our 2030 vision to present to the GraceKennedy main board of directors on December 1st. The senior leadership team of GraceKennedy, we met last week for 2.5 days to go through our 2030 strategy and other strategic initiatives. As I said then, and I'll say to the listeners now, I believe that GraceKennedy Foods, as you have seen from Andrew and my presentation, in terms of the international markets, are doing exceptionally well, USA, Canada, the Caribbean, and UK. And if you think about it, colleagues, GraceKennedy Foods is an international company headquartered in Jamaica. And we have done initial checks, we refer to it as a temperature check. And we believe that our food business will be very attractive company to be listed on an overseas stock exchange. And funny enough, you know, a lot of the comments I've been getting back is that they think that GraceKennedy Foods will do well on the London Stock Exchange. Having said that, we will be, as part of our journey to 2030, we're going to be engaging investment bankers to advise us on this important initiative. But we believe that GK Financial Group as a listed company on a recognized exchange, and the food division on an international exchange, whether NASDAQ, New York, or London, or Canada, would obviously maximize shareholders' value. Long way ahead. We have to get our investment bankers together to advise us properly on this one. Next question. GK Foods has done unthinkable and surpassed money services, which is a first. 50-50, not really surpassed. Well, money services, yes. With the continued performance of the food trading, is there a focus to grow more of your business in the USA and Canada? Absolutely, and the UK, absolutely. One of the strategies that we have for those markets, both the USA, Canada, and the UK, is that of acquisitions and the Caribbean. And we are in discussions with a number of companies in the USA, Canada, and the UK as it relates to acquisition. So acquisition is going to be a key growth strategy for our international food business. Having said that, if you think about the US market and where our strengths lie, our strength lies on the east coast of the USA, and we all know that's where the Jamaican diaspora migrated and reside. So they are the foundation behind the growth. And a similar position in Canada, in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area, and London. Now, what we have done in terms of strategic mapping is that there are a lot of opportunities for GraceKennedy products on the west coast of the USA, which we're going to be looking at in terms of geographical expansion, not only acquisition. In Canada, Western Canada is something that we've been focusing on for a number of years, and we're going to be trying to execute on that. And in terms of the UK, or the wider Europe, European expansion in terms of Germany, Holland, France, that is going to be key on our agenda. When I say key, we mean focus, putting resources, whether human capital or financial capital, behind those markets. But yes, big potential for growth. And I tell you, there's also big potential for growth in the domestic market. And when you look at the plans by our domestic foods team, while they're doing exceptionally well now, and the Grace brand by far is the dominant brand, we are seeing a lot of opportunities in terms of new products for the GraceKennedy products in Jamaica. So I'm very optimistic about the growth of our food division, but I'm also very optimistic about the growth of our financial services division. So we will see. What's the strategic plan for GK Eastern Caribbean after the first board meeting? Great question. So what we're doing, we are in 7 markets now. What we need to ensure is that we solidify ourselves in those markets and establish our brand as GK Life. The previous manager of Scotia Life, we have recruited her, Chrissy, and she's actually now the new managing director for GK Life. So there's a lot of continuity there in terms of customer relations and system and market knowledge and all of that. I would say the GK Life Eastern Caribbean, we need to look more north now to see if there is any potential for us to expand in the Northern Caribbean. Andrew might have to rename the company instead of Eastern Caribbean. Just a light moment. So I think we're going to be expanding to other islands, not necessarily the Eastern Caribbean. And there are other opportunities in Eastern Caribbean to diversify our portfolio to include other customers. Very optimistic about this acquisition, and I can see this company growing significantly in the short term. Other question, does GK think it will be able to absorb higher food costs in food business for a little longer before passing on these costs? Let me share with you that that our freight costs, and this is not exaggerating in any way, our freight costs pre-COVID from the Far East was $2,500 per container, US dollars per container. We are paying upwards of $15,000 US per container, and our experts are saying that this is expected to continue for the foreseeable future and never going back to the pre-COVID levels. At GraceKennedy, we have looked at our business inside out. Remember, I talk about cost reduction, margin management, cost containment. We're doing everything possible to ensure that we pass on a minimum price increase to our consumers and our customers. And when I tell you everything possible, we're looking at every system, looking at all the raw material cost, and we're trying our best to pass on, because we know it's tough times for everybody. We're trying our best to pass on the minimum cost increases. So yes, we're going to absorb some of the cost reduction. We can't pass on all to our consumers, but we're looking at other ways to reduce costs so we can remain profitable and give our shareholders a good return on their investment. But it's tough. It's tough. For example, the corned beef prices has gone up significantly coming out of Belize, and we have basically no control over that. And the other point that I'd make with this, that's why I said earlier in my presentation, because you have imported costs, because the dollar devalues and the suppliers from overseas increase their costs, and there's nothing much you can do about it. But what we can do about it in the medium to long term is what I said earlier: invest in agriculture. We need to be more self-reliant in Jamaica and not depend on others. Because when other borders locked down with COVID-19, right, we had to turn to our Jamaican manufacturers, which we have 7 plants, and our farmers right, to keep us going. So let us invest behind agriculture and agro-processing. Our Denby plant, which started a few years ago, I tasted it, Andrew, the sweet potato, frozen sweet potato. Man, the thing nice, right? So we don't need any imported thing. We just need to start processing and growing more in Jamaica. And that's, you can hear from my voice, that's something I feel very, very strongly about. The other question, it's a question from Anonymous. I love that. Can Mr. Webby say when the 3 products under the digital factory is expected to launch and give a brief description about? Sure. So we expect to launch in the first half of 2022, full-blown. The products are in the sandbox, but we expect to launch during the first half of 2022. A brief description of the products. We're going to have a digital wallet with a prepaid Visa card backed by FGB. We're going to have a digital remittance product, and we're going to have digital bill payments. And let me just check my notes here. Let me share with you some more information in terms of the mobile app. So the mobile app, or the GK1 first release, the first release, and we're going to be improving as we move along, is going to have digital registration and KYC, know your customer, right? We're going to have inbound and outbound Western Union remittances. We're going to have shop with prepaid Visa card backed by FGB, and we're going to have bill payment and bill express. So what you're talking about, is the convenience of right at your phone doing a number of transactions. I'll share with you one of the things that we're working on, and I've set up a special committee to focus on it, is that of cross-selling. I said to my team, David Cousins is leading that one for us, where it will be such a great idea or a great facility if we can cross-sell. In other words, you go to First Global Bank, you borrow money at the lowest rate to buy your car, and you can automatically insure your car using the GK1 app. Or if you want to buy Grace stock with GK Capital, you can ask your GK FGB manager or customer representative to buy the stock at GK Capital over GK1 app. So the opportunities, colleagues, are so enormous. And when you look at the ecosystem of GraceKennedy and our customer base, the potential is so huge. When I think about high-low with the diaspora, you remember that we are also representative or strategic partners with Western Union, tying into the high-low buying, right? So you can inbound or use your app to buy your high-low groceries and deliver it to your family. It's fascinating. This world is so interesting. And before COVID-19, we had all of these plans, in place. But with COVID-19, we fast-tracked them, we put resources behind. And that's why I say, when there is a crisis, there is an opportunity. And that's why we are today feeling very proud about ourselves with high-low e-commerce and our digital factory being launched in record time. Let me see if I can get some more questions. Oops, a lot of questions. I hope I can answer all it. We have the time. What has become of the plan to cross-list GK on the Canadian or US market? I think I answered that one. Obviously, COVID-19 slowed down some of the initiatives in terms of getting it done, but it's still very much a part of our 2030 vision. A few of us, Stephen Whitting and myself, Andrew, you're there, went in New York with investment bankers, and we'll continue that discussion or that dialogue with investment bankers so they can advise us appropriately. How close is GK to acquiring any public listed entities, and what segments would the focus be? We are not very close to acquire any public entities at this time. So the answer to that question is no. Are there plans to conduct a stock split in the near future? As you know, we meet as a board and as a management team in terms of how do we maximize shareholders' value. And if stock split is one of the options, I'm sure Andrew Masado, our CFO, beside me here, will come and have a chat with me, do the necessary calculation, the pros and cons, speak to the market. And if we believe it's the right decision, we'll take it to the board of directors at the appropriate time. John Jackson. Grace wants to be recognized in the global market. The financial rope industry remains behind what is expected of a group such as Grace, JP, show the cost of sales and gross profits. What really is the reason why Grace refusing to do what investment expected in this area? What are the plans for the two general insurance companies? And do you want to tell anything about the reporting?
Sure.
The financial reporting disclosure, and I'll take the one about the two insurance companies.
Yes. So in terms of our reporting, when we report our quarterly results, we are a conglomerate, and therefore we are really showing what is best represented for the conglomerate overall, because as you know, we don't have just food companies that have cost of sales, but we have insurance, banking, and money services businesses. However, we do show those details when we're reporting our audited accounts. So if you look at our audited financial statements, you'll clearly see our cost of sales expenses in the notes to our accounts, and we do show the gross profits for the parent company as well in the notes to their accounts.
Okay, all right, thanks. I think this is the second time John is asking the question, so he feels passionately about it. All right, what are the plans for the two general insurance companies? John, one of the plans that we have for our insurance companies, first of all, we're going to find the synergistic values of both. So the plan is not to merge anyway in terms of the front end, but we have some synergies in the back end, administration, the technology, the use of the online platform. Our reinsurers, we have started that already, where we are speaking to one reinsurer and we are seeing some cost savings going through that. Our plan is that we think that our general insurance business has the legs to be the number one or number two underwriter, general insurance company, certainly in the Caribbean. And any strategic moves that we make in terms of these two companies will be in that direction. You have done well so far. What about 2022, John? We remain positive. We just finished our executive retreat, and 2022 is looking good for us. It's all about execution. As you would understand, that the environment remains very challenging, very uncertain. I know people speaking about the fourth wave of COVID-19, which is definitely not behind us. And if you look at Jamaica, for example, with a 20% vaccination rate, we're really, really not where we should be. And that is a huge, huge risk, not only for GraceKennedy, but for every Jamaican company and every Jamaican. So I'm really hoping and praying that we can get that vaccination rate up to return to some amount of normality. So while I tell you 2022 is expected to be good, there are a number of unknown variables that we have to manage, but we have our risk assessment done. We have our control systems in place with our risk, and the management is looking at these risks on a monthly basis to ensure we manage them. Some of them are within our control, some of them are outside of our control. But John, I remain optimistic about 2022. And just for information, John, we're going to be doubling our capital expenditure for 2022. So this year we're going to be spending approximately 17 million US, and next year we are looking to spend about 35 million US, reinvesting in the business in terms of new technology, new plant and machinery, so we can compete with the world's best. Okay, any more? Do you expect FGB or your other financial holding minus money services and insurance company to increase interest if the policy rate goes up? Yes, I mean, I think you don't have a choice. So if the policy rate and the governor of the central bank, which I agree with Richard Biles, he has said that it's better to be proactive in terms of interest rate movements. It's a hard pill to swallow, but when you look at inflation, and inflation is not only for Jamaica. If you see what is happening in the USA market, it's actually frightening when you look at gas price and food prices. So if interest rates, if the policy rate goes up to 3 or 4, and that's why I say margin management, David, not only for food, because when you're in the banking business or in the spread business of repos and that sort of thing, you can't do it at a loss. So it's something that you have to manage very carefully. But I'm hoping for our sake and the country's sake that we don't get to 3 or 4. But the BOJ being proactive, I think they would have the inflation under control as best as possible. But remember, some of the inflationary pressures is outside of our control. A lot of it is what I refer to as imported inflation. which you really can't do much about. And it is worse if the dollar devalues. Important, you get yourself in a cycle. So you're importing at a higher rate, and if the dollar devalues, the Jamaican consumers are going to feel it. So it's a balancing act. What I would listen to the professionals at the BOJ, and I think they are making the right move at this time, but it has to be monitored very carefully because, if interest rate goes up, then it's going to affect production and capital investment. So we have to watch that carefully. How concerned are you about global inflation? I'm very concerned about global inflation. When you look at the news out of Bloomberg and other experts and investment houses in the United States, UK, and other first world countries, everybody is concerned about global inflation. Oh, is that time? Oh, one more. Okay, all right. I love this question. Has the money services business peaked? I'm sure Grace Burnett and Margaret and others are laughing. I don't think it has peaked at all. We had a meeting with Western Union in Florida two weeks ago. Andrew, 3 weeks ago. And the best is yet to come. It's going to be a different business. It's going to be a lot of new products. A lot of it will be digital, driven by digital. The digital market is going at 35 or 40%. So what we need to ensure is that we capture a lot of that digital market. But when you have migration anywhere in the world, right, the money services business will always do well. And the migration pattern that we are seeing for some of the countries is still quite large. And so I don't believe it has peaked, and I believe it will be a lot different, but it will continue to grow, and I feel very confident about that. In fact, it's going to become easier to send money that you can do it from your phone to an app and get it straight into your bank account. I think that's it. Mm-hmm. So hold on, one more slipping for you, Andrew. Mm-hmm. Is GK considering increasing dividend payout? Are you? We have been increasing it over the years, but
yes. Thank you. Yes, thanks for that question. So, in line with our dividend policy, we do tie our dividend payments to a percentage of our profits. So, as our profits go up, then the company is able to pay out more. As you know, we retain some funds in order to grow our business. We're in growth mode, and with the significant increase in capital expenditure, we do retain funds for that. But in addition to that, we share those profits with the shareholders. So as you can see, for this year, we're going up significantly by over 20%, and certainly we've been going up in each year for the last 5 years. So you can expect once the group continues to perform well and improve in profits, that we will be increasing our dividend payout as well.
Can I do one more? Just a quick one. Okay. You're asking about our ambassadors, Shelley and Fraser Price. So let me say at GraceKennedy, we are very, very proud of all our ambassadors. Obviously, Shelley and Fraser Price has been just truly outstanding. She has been an ambassador for us for many, many, many years, and we are so proud of her and her achievement, both on the track and off the track. She's a true champion in every way. We're also proud of Hansel Parchment, who displayed the true values of a GraceKennedy in terms of that famous video, and I want to acknowledge Hansel. We are so proud of you, Hansel, in terms of your gold medal. I lost my voice at that point, but Hansel, despite a lot of challenges in terms of fitness and injury, rose to the occasion and won in Japan. Really great guy. Brianna Williams, our young and upcoming star, we are also proud of Brianna. And I think the best is yet to come for Brianna. And of course, Aliyah Atkinson. Aliyah has announced her retirement, but she has been a stalwart in terms of the pool and the top Jamaican swimmer for many, many years. And of course, how could I forget my good friend Ding Dong, who is also an ambassador for GraceKennedy. As Ding Dong would say, you're my brethren. So Ding Dong actually was really respected about Ding Dong is that he went on social media to say that I'm vaccinated. And I want to say respect due to Ding Dong for that. And I'm hoping that more entertainers and more stars of the track or the field or the pool or the baller do what Ding Dong did. So yes, I get vaccinated for the interest of my family and my loved ones. Big up Ding Dong for that. I think I'm out of time. Oh, oops. all right, colleagues. I'm out of time. We need to make this sessions a little longer, Suzanne. All right. Okay. So as we approach 2022, I remain optimistic about GraceKennedy. I remain optimistic about Jamaica, and I just hope and ask our brothers and sisters to get vaccinated. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but as you can see, that's something I feel very strongly about. So ladies and gentlemen, this brings today's briefing to an end. Thank you very much for your participation. As of tomorrow, a link of today's broadcast will be available on our corporate website, www.gracekennedy.com, www.gracekennedy.com. If you have any additional questions, and I think I have a few here that we can put up. If you have any additional questions, please submit them to gkinvestor@gkco.com. That is gkinvestor@gkco.com. Let me say, and again, thank all of you. We value your feedback on the streaming experience and any suggestions you may have as to how to improve this experience for you. Please, please, please let us know. Susan and the Corpcom team is ready and waiting to hear how we can improve ahead of our AGM and other virtual functions that we have. So once again, colleagues, thanks again. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule for our third quarter investors briefing. I hope you found it informative, and we'll see you again soon. Have a great Christmas and a good New Year. Thanks a lot, everybody.